I gave people all the stuff they really needed. Social Security checks, utility bills, TV guide.
I want a TV guidance counselor. TV guidance counselor. Staying up to watch all night, and everything's gonna be alright with my TV guidance counselor.
Hey everybody, welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. I, as always, am Ken Reed, your TV Guidance Counselor. I'm very caffeinated today, as you can probably tell. I am the Boston stand-up comedian who each and every week welcomes an interesting person to the show. We get an old TV Guide magazine from my personal collection, and we use that as the inspiration for our conversation. Been doing it every single week since February 14th, 2014. We're in our 11th year. Thank you for checking out the show. If you're a regular listener, thank you for coming back. If you're a patron, the extra thank you. I am always blown away by the patron support. I really appreciate it. It helps to cover unexpected expenses, of which there seems to be one every month these days. And if you are not a patron, but you'd like to be, you can go to patreon.com/TV Guidance Counselor. Just Google Patreon and TV Guidance Counselor. And you can give as little as $1 a month, or if you give $5 a month, you get a PDF of the TV Guide we discuss every week for the weeks that we discuss them. And other content on there. Side note, if there's specific content you'd like to see on the Patreon, let me know. I will do my best to do that. You can email me at ken@icanread.com or tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or at kenfwread or at TV Guidance on all the social media. But you would have gotten a PDF of this very episode's TV Guide that we discussed with my guest, the great comedian Adam Cayton-Holland, who also has a great comedy special out for free right now on YouTube called Wallpaper. I put a link in the show description here. He's also a member of the Grolics, and they have a podcast. He's written books. He's impressive and a good dude, just a good dude that I was so happy to reconnect with. I hadn't seen him in a while or talked to him in a while because I've been in Boston in my home. It's a different story, but it was so nice to have him here. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Adam Cayton-Holland.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Live via satellite, I think maybe for the first time, a guest from Colorado. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm honored to be the first guest from the Centennial State.
Is that a lot of pressure? Because, you're representing the state.
It's nothing I haven't shouldered for years. I'm accustomed to it. I got the whole state on my back, and it's just excited to bring Colorado to a new platform.
Although I have had several people from Colorado Springs, but not live from Colorado Springs. Like Elvira is from Colorado Springs.
Well, as the official ambassador of Colorado, I'm here to tell you we don't recognize Colorado Springs. So
that's what I've heard.
Good for Elvira, and may she enjoy that town I don't care for.
That's why she doesn't live there anymore.
She got out.
She grew up there.
She got out.
A Boston comic who grew up there once described it as if Donald Rumsfeld was a city.
That's really good. That's very good.
So I assume that's accurate.
Yeah, it's a bleak hellscape. It's like military and focus on the family. It's where evangelical meets the military. And then there's beautiful nature everywhere, too. So that's kind of like, well, this is odd.
The 4 people I know who grew up there became strippers there and then moved to L.A.
and Elvira.
Yeah, she is one of them.
She's all 4.
She was all 4. So that was very interesting. Yeah, I don't need to ever go there, and you've confirmed that for me. But I love Colorado. I was just saying before we started talking that I hadn't been there in a long time. And I bring it up more than I normally would when I'm talking to a guest of where they're from, is you, inspirationally to me, sitting here in Boston, have managed to do everything you're doing pretty much not having to move.
That's nice. It's always nice to see what you project versus what you feel. And I appreciate that for sure. Like I've been able to accomplish a lot from not moving to New York or LA or the traditional comedy hubs. But it's always kind of a grass is greener situation. You're always like, I got a cool situation in a cool city and I have a house. But you're always like, what am I missing in those big, and people, and my friends who in those cities are like, we wish we could get out. So it's always just a trade,
Yeah, we're in the same. It's rare I meet people in the same boat as me with that in that regard.
Yeah,
you know Shane Moss, right? You know Shane?
Yeah.
Shane once I was staying with him in LA, and he he coined the term Hollywood poor to me, where he was like, I have to go hiking in these Prada boots because I got them free on a photo shoot and I don't have any other boots. It was like, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's like impractically rich.
Yes, totally useless rich things.
Yes.
So when I talked about doing the show, the issue you picked here, Letterman's on the cover, and I presume that's why you went with it?
100% why I went with it. Yeah, it was a letter. I was just going through all the covers that were sent, and Letterman stood out to me for sure. And I've almost like realized recently how much of a hero he is to me and how much I love him. Just through like My Next Guest Needs No Introduction show and all the stuff he's kind of doing, flirting with stand-up comedy again. And I'm just like, I love this man so much. And I so want to meet him. I grew up, I mean, literally I made it so that my bedtime was after the top 10 list. Like I negotiated that with my parents. So I was able to stay
That's
up.
a good negotiating skill for a kid.
It's pretty good. And, you know, it's pretty liberal of my parents. I was probably 12, 13. They're like, all right, you can go up till 10:45. It was, you know, it was generous. But
well, that's the other thing. You have the benefit of mountain time. I forgot
time. The rare,
it didn't even occur.
The rare programming black hole where it's just like, oh, this is all actually quite reasonable. Prime time starts at 7. The news is at 10. A Letterman starts at 10:30. So, yeah, you know, you can be in bed by 11 having seen the top 10.
Yeah, I would have been up past midnight for that kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's unreasonable.
So it is. It's.
I did it.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, you're a little bit more twitchy than I am, but that's only because
I
banked these hours of sleep in a really pivotal era of growth versus you up at night waiting for it.
Up at night, true. And you probably also get some sort of contact high from just vapor in the air in Denver at this point.
Yeah, just kids vaping behind my office garage.
So this is a really kind of interesting, weird era of Letterman as well, because 97, the new CBS show is not new anymore. It's after that sort of excitement of the new David Letterman show, but before we started getting into the he's going to retire celebration stuff. So it's sort of this like dead zone of Letterman, and he started to kind of get good again. I think I really turned on the CBS show like around the OJ trial era.
Sure.
I don't know how popular of an opinion that is, but then once that kind of blew over in this era, he kind of stopped caring again, which is always good for him.
He also seemed to sort of like settle in to the misanthropy of David Letterman. And I feel like in his later years, he became softer and kinder, and it's almost like Uncle Dave, and we all love this guy. But there was a real vinegar to what he was putting out in this sort of era. It's almost like the Empire Strikes Back Dave. It's just a darkness there. And I kind of like that. I think it turned off more people than it brought in, to tell you the truth.
Sure.
But I like
it. But I always thought he wasn't doing anything different. It was like that attitude coming from a young guy was irreverent and seemed kind of alty, but as he aged into that persona, it was too appropriate. So he just seemed like a grizzly old
like a
mean
dick.
person.
He seemed like a dick.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think it was until that like heart attack and those surgeries that he came back with sort of like the perspective of being grateful. I think at this point he was bitter that he'd lost the late night rivalry. He's got the new shiny show, and he's sort of just leaning into whatever it is he wants to do. I also remember, and again, my eras of Letterman are probably all over the place, but in me, they blend together in my memory. He used to always get, and I thought it was so hilarious, speeding tickets on like the Connecticut Turnpike. And I feel like this is the height of Letterman finishing the show, smoking a stogie, and just ripping back to Greenwich as fast as he can.
Fuck out of here for the weekend.
Not giving a shit about the speed, and just I'm out of here. And I kind of love the bad boyness of that.
Yeah, we could call this the I'm David fucking Letterman era of Letterman.
Drew Barrymore is going to take her top off. You're going to love it. I'm David fucking Letterman.
Madonna's going to do something outrageous. Yeah, Adam Resnick has become a friend since doing the show, and he was Chris Elliott's co-writing partner. And hearing their stories about writing on that show in the early days of the original show, really made me appreciate David Letterman so much more, because really, he was just like, oh, Chris, you and Adam are funny weirdos. Yeah, here's 5 minutes. Do whatever.
Totally.
And like, you don't do that on a network TV show.
No.
He wouldn't. He'd be surprised, like all the guy under the stairs things. He would have no idea what they were going to do, and it didn't run it by anybody.
I love that, and I feel like that's sort of, I'm David fucking Letterman, but also I don't really care. I can spin it funny.
Right.
I can save the show, and I do think similar spirit is those weird, Mujibur and Sirajul or
Yes.
Rupert G, where it's like, let's just go to the deli down the street. One of my most coveted mugs in my kitchen right there is a Hello Deli Rupert G mug. Like, I don't put it in the dishwasher. I hand wash that one and just set it on the side of the sink. But yeah, like, that was so comedically free and weird that I really long for that era. There were no stakes. The whole world was watching. The viewership was probably higher than it ever was after.
Oh, of course.
And he operated like it was public access television. When it comes
like,
to
whatever.
writing humor, yes, I'll get the big A-list guests. Yes, we'll have all that. But when you talk about like a sketch before the top 10, they couldn't have been more phoned in, and they were great. They were fucking great.
Yeah. Kids, the weird Halloween costumes are like just bizarre things like that. And speaking of Mujibur and Sirajul and Rupert G, like, I don't think he gets enough credit for, like, basically Impractical Jokers.
Uh-huh.
That's their whole thing, is that segment. Is someone with an earpiece and someone telling them to do things in public.
Dude, you're so right about that. I can't really recall seeing that conceit before that. Or sending Biff Henderson to Major League Spring Training and just telling him what to say to Tony Gwynn. Like, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
The Rupert G one I recall the most, I don't know why this one sticks with me, was he had him go order ice cream. Do you recall this one? And
not sure.
The funniness of it was that Rupert also had no idea what he was going to say, so he's reacting, and he's like, yeah, give me an ice cream cone with a scoop of chocolate, and then he's like, a scoop of vanilla, another scoop, and he's ordering like 30 scoops on this one cone. It's very funny.
I remember a bit in again, the era that I'm just blanketly painting as this era. But it was a guy, he just went through the phone book, and I think it was a New Jersey phone book, and he found a man named Dick Assman. And he just called him. And he was just prank calling like you and I were doing with our friends. And he eventually gets Dick Assman. And by the end of the week, Dick Assman's on the couch. And he's interviewing him and kind of being really sweet about it and asking him what it's like to have this name. And it's kind of like ends up being a really nice, fun, not laughing at Dick Assman, laughing with Dick Assman. And that was a 5-day journey that Letterman just did with the phone book. I remember that vividly. To me, that's genius.
And that was the genius of you wanting to tune in every night, because there were those reoccurring joke and almost like serialized bits, but didn't feel forced.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, that felt very natural. Like, that wasn't like, here's the bit we're going to do and unveil it over 5 days. It was like, it just evolved on its own. Even if it didn't, it felt like it did.
Right, you're right. Maybe there's more Machiavellian stuff going on, but I feel like it was kind of organic because there was a delight in the, like, we got him. And it felt, if he's faking that, which I don't think he is, because this is I don't give a fuck, I'm David fucking Letterman era. I think he was genuinely delighted that this bit bore such fruit. You know what I mean?
I converted a VHS tape for Todd Barry. I don't know if you've seen this footage of when David Letterman called Todd when he was 18.
No.
So Todd wrote a letter when he was living in Florida saying he did a great impression of oh my God, why am I forgetting the name of the very famous band leader that I can't for some reason remember
Paul
his
Schaefer?
name. Paul Schaefer, yes.
Yeah, sure.
He did an impression of Paul Schaefer. So it was when, like, he'd do viewer mail and he'd sometimes call people. And it's up on YouTube. It's on Todd's channel now. But Dave calls him and Todd answers right away. He goes, wow, he answered right on the first ring. And Todd, 18 years old, goes, yeah, that's how this machine works, Dave. And it's like,
attaboy,
perfect.
Todd.
It's perfect.
Talk about
it's
this is my Hollywood arrival, David Letterman.
Yep.
Here.
Yep.
It's also really cute, because I know Todd as well, and he's a cynical guy. I like to think of 18-year-old aspirational Todd Barry.
Yep.
That's an adorable look.
I'm going to get a TV credit. Be damned. I'm not even going to have to go anywhere. Fantastic.
First time I ever went to New York, I was looking at colleges. I was 17 and change, And my mom took me out to the East Coast to look at schools, and we went to New York and looked at a few. And I was overwhelmed by New York. I was like, where are the trees? I can't do it. No way. And I didn't go to New York. But we stayed in a hotel down the street from the Ed Sullivan Theater. And so I saw it out our window, and I was like, Mom, can I run down there? And she's like, okay, you're 17. Go down there. That's all good. So I ran down there at night because we landed at night. And I just took it in, and then I was like, oh, shit, I know Mujiber and Cereal Jules stores right here. And so I went into their store, and they were there, and I was just like, man. So the first time I ever went to New York, I was like, this is my cardinal directional point is Letterman's studio.
But it was unusual that, I don't think they were shooting a lot of stuff in Colorado. I think the Real World was probably 97 or whenever that
There's
one was.
nothing shot in Colorado.
Yeah, there's nothing. No. So, in Boston was similar where it's such a strange thing to be able to go to something you watch on TV and the thing is there. Totally. It's not a set.
Totally.
The guys are there. It's it's mind blowing.
Yeah, there's no reality TV back then. There's nothing where it's whatever they shot HGTV down the street. You're right. It's an iconic thing, and you sort of walk through the television screen as a 17-year-old, and you're just like, ah. And I've done TV stuff since, and I think there is probably some, if I'm forced to psychoanalyze myself, some oh my God, it's just a place. They're just pointing cameras at it. This is doable. You know.
Yeah. Were you doing sets with those who can't, or was that an actual school?
That was a school. That was Van Nuys High School in.
Okay, so you did go to Van, where they shot Fast Times.
Where they shot Fast
Same
Times
high
at
school.
Ridgemont High. The exact. And then as we were wrapping up production on our rinky-dink True TV 3-season effort, they started shooting Young Sheldon, to date myself, on Van Nuys High School. They started it, and we're like, "What's that production?" And they're like, "Oh, that's a new Young Sheldon," and you could just see the nicer trailers, the Calla. I was like, "Oh, that's a production right there."
It's your high school girlfriend dating a college guy.
It was funny too because the show was wrapping, and we're like, "Oh, Van Nuys found a better guy.
He's got his own car, and it's like, jeez.
I'm actually happy for her. I'm happy for her.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not. It seems like a good guy.
She's a good school. I got to go back to Denver.
Before we get to the listings here, I was taken aback. So 97 is the era where there's no longer cigarette ads in TV Guide. They've been replaced without missing a beat with prescription drug ads. So we have Lodi and XL and a few other things. But on page 8 of the PDF, there is a Charmin Ultra ad.
Oh, wow.
And it reminded me that I blocked a lot of this out when we were growing up. Toilet paper ads, 80% of them involve naked babies.
Yeah, you're very right about that. You're very right about that.
All the time. It was
just butts, baby butts on TV crawling around. 100%.
Yep.
Nobody thought it was weird. The right wing wasn't clamoring about Charmin pedophilia rings. They just let it happen.
No.
It was a simpler
time. And it was every night in primetime. This one is a little girl, and she's clothed, but she's rubbing toilet paper on her face, which is weird. But it's so weird because I'm like, now they have those weird red bears or cartoons, where I'm like, the go-to default was naked babies.
And that means a lot of moms and dads were very cool letting their baby go naked on television for a check. Your
first credit is nudity.
We live in an era where I'm hesitant to put pictures of my kids online because who knows what facial recognition or where it's going or blah, 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 blah. They're like, yeah, take my naked baby. And how much Charmin do we get to walk away with?
I'm never paying to wipe my ass again.
The great thing about the toilet paper biz, everybody keeps shitting.
It's a dirty business, but you keep it clean.
That's my toilet paper mogul voice. They just always keep shitting.
I was at a flea market in New Hampshire once, and there was a biker guy who was claiming to be selling raffle tickets for some kids' charity. But the other thing he was selling, and the only other thing he was selling, was a DVD he had made of women at Laconia wrestling in ho-hos. And
okay,
I'm
with you.
He's trying to pitch it. I did buy it. He's trying to pitch it, and he goes, hey, "It's fun. It's fun. It's it's dirty. It's dirty, but it's clean. That was his pitch.
Dirty, but it's clean.
So I was like, I guess I have to buy it. And it was so boring. I was so disappointed. It was like 5 minutes of footage that they just looped, and I was like, God damn it. But it was worth it for his pitch works. I felt like
It's dirty, but it's clean.
rewarded for
Yeah, that's stuck
dirty,
with you
but
for
it's
sure. That's great.
And then there's a review of the show The Naked Truth, which was Taya Leone.
Right, I saw
they
that.
like the show. I loved this show.
Yeah.
And she was so funny. She did 2 comedic sitcoms and then kind of was in Bad Boys and Florida with Disaster and then just dramas.
Right. I mean, I think she was so beautiful. They were like, we got to pry her out of comedy. But she had chops. She was good. She could carry a sitcom in the 90s when sitcoms were everything. Yeah, those were, but I wonder what that went. Probably 1 season, 2 tops.
2. So that went 2, but the second season was it's basically a different show. It was that kind of thing where they were like, we signed you guys for 2 seasons, but we need to completely rework the show.
We're bringing in Fresh Prince's second mom.
Yes, we're recasting the mom, and you now have kids all of a sudden.
Yeah.
She worked the first season when she worked for like was weirder. She worked for like a really trashy Weekly World News type tabloid.
That's right.
And then the second season they made it more like a TMZ thing, and there was a ton of celebrity cameos because I think they were just, let's just see if we get anyone to watch this show.
Right.
Like Tom Hanks was on it.
Oh wow. But I remember that piece you just cited. Didn't they give it a sweet spot? Wasn't it between like Seinfeld and something else? It was a really good spot.
It was. I think that what we learned later with that spot, which someone called the hammock spot the other day, which I had never heard, but makes sense, between like Seinfeld and Friends and ER.
And
there were
fall
2
asleep.
spots that, pretty much anything works there. But I think what they discovered was if a show had too much of a voice, it didn't work there.
Right.
And the shows that work there were the kind of just like, not terrible, but filler shows like Veronica's Closet and Caroline in the City and suddenly, Single Guy.
Single
It's just
guy.
kind
I
of
was
like,
just gonna say the Single Guy. It's like what is a bridge from Friends to Seinfeld, but the Single Guy.
you're like, it's fine. Like it was just like no one had a strong opinion about it, which is exactly what you needed.
Right.
It couldn't be too funny.
Yeah. They got the guy from Hepcat. That was cool.
Yes. Well, he was in The Flash before that.
Yeah, that guy's great.
Oh yeah, what the hell's his name? He was like one of the first TV celebrities I ever met that I was like, whoa.
He was in the movie Swingers too. I love the band Hepcat. I had a big ska phase. Hepcat rules. This is mortifying for my sister, so I'll tell you the story. We went to Hepcat, me and my older she came with me and some friends as my older sister. She wasn't into ska at all. She's like, whatever, it's a concert down the street, we'll go with you.
Right.
And I was like, Hepcat rules, you're going to love it. And so the opening band was playing, and that lead singer of Hepcat, whose name we're blanking on, was
looking it up now.
Was walking around the theater, just getting ready, just picking up the vibe. And my sister's like, that's the dude from Hepcat. And she from Swingers. And she went up to him and she's like, oh my God, you're in Swingers. I love you in that. Like, what are you doing here? He's like, this is my fucking concert. And
my band. This is my main gig.
This is what I do.
Yeah, Alex Desert was his name.
Yes.
Because he was also on The Heights. Do you remember that show?
I don't remember The Heights.
So that was a Aaron Spelling show about a band, and he was the keyboard player.
Yeah.
Jamie
I do
Walters. It was,
show.
how do you talk to an angel?
Yes.
He was in that band, and that people were like, wow, it's Rancid. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. This guy was on The Flash. Like, come on, guys.
Yes.
And so that was my very exciting thing. There's an interesting little piece in here that I liked in the Letterman article about the 10 ways Dave kept his cool, which was kind of a nice overview of like outrageous things that have happened on the show, including the Drew Barrymore thing that you alerted to.
Yeah. What else was in there? I read it as well, but this was a week ago.
So this is Drew Barrymore's number 10. Then there's the ever-popular remote cam sketches, which recently included, quote, can a guy in a bear suit get a free hot dog? And can a dog walker get into Fridays?
So
really
good.
Funny.
So good. It's like minor league baseball promotions, the TV show.
There's Rupert and Leonard. There's the kids telling jokes, Mom on Thanksgiving. Then when I forgot about this, he had an animated Beavis and Butthead on as guests.
I saw that. Yes, exactly. I remember that because I was
cartoons.
Very into Beavis and Butthead, especially because in Colorado you couldn't get MTV for a long time or Comedy Central.
Oh, weird.
It was like a weird cable hiccup. So much so that when South Park started, you couldn't get Comedy Central on the cable package in Colorado. So everyone in Colorado was hearing about South Park but not seeing it. and I would get bootleg tapes from kids who went to college who would send me VHSs of South Park, and we'd like show them in the AV room of high school, and we're like, this is happening everywhere. It's kind of about us.
It's not just local.
But I remember I had a similar, cult status with Beavis and Butthead, and so I loved them. So when they went on Letterman, I was very, very into that. 2 animated characters sitting in chairs while he's interviewing them. It's remarkable Dave had the patience to execute that bit, because it didn't go smoothly. It would still be difficult now, but at least now they could have some kind of real-time CG help that would probably make it a little bit easier. We know nothing. Mike Judge was there animating it in real time. That's impressive. He was drawing it. They had glass sheets. He would tear them off furiously. You think you can do this, Mike? I can do it. I can do it. They're like psyching him up. He's like, time me. Also, speaking of South Park, have you been to the new Casa Bonita? No, I haven't. It's been such a shit show, and I have babies, so I don't do things. Yeah. So I'm just kind of waiting for the hubbub to die down. Yeah, it's like impossible to get in. Yeah, and I'm so arrogant. On Twitter, I was like, I want in, and I'm a person of note in Colorado. And that didn't work at all. You have to Brer Rabbit it. Be like, the last thing I want. Yeah, exactly. Is free tickets to this piece of shit. Sure would hate to go to this new thing that everyone's obsessed with. Don't do that. There's also an article in here about the Monkees, which is a little bit odd for 1997. As everyone knows, Monkees 66, 67 was the height. They had this weird resurgence in 1985 when MTV started showing the show. But in 97, this is when Nesmith reunited with the Monkees for the first time since 1966. And he reunited with them to do a one-off special of them today, circa 97. And it's one of the weirdest, most amazing things I've ever seen. The premise is they've still been living in this beach house for the last 20 or 30 years when you haven't seen them, and doing the same thing, but they're old men now and they just basically want to stop. That's like they just want to stop. Like we're 60 something years old and we're in this beach house with wacky things and no one's watching it, and we know it's a show, and it's such a weird idea, and the fact that they let him do that, he wrote it, is amazing. And no one ever talks about this special. It only aired once. That's wild. Yeah, no, I'd like to rewatch that because I love that premise. That's a very good premise. It's on YouTube. You can find it. It's worth watching. And yeah, I think the people, Nesmith certainly was not the reason the people who liked the Monkees in the 80s and 90s liked the Monkees. Right. Exactly. He was the weirdo, and they were like, we want to do a nostalgia thing. And he's like, no. Okay. I've actually been working on a script for 20 years. Yeah. It's right. He goes, this is gonna be the Monkees version of Twin Peaks: The Return. You're gonna be like, oh, you want a reunion? Well, here you go. Bet you're sorry you asked, aren't you? Then into the listing. So let's dive in. So this was a Boston edition. So primetime, of course, does not meet the Mountain standards. Exactly. So hopefully so we're in different realms here. So yeah. So hopefully that worked for you. But so what did you do Saturday night? You tell me what I did Saturday night. Oh wait, no, I wrote. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm blanking on. I have it in my notes here. I was like, where did I put that? I thought I emailed it to you. Nope. Got it. Okay. Here we are, prepared. So this is a weird choice, but Saturday was slim pickings. My older sister, Anna, aforementioned Hepcat embarrassment Anna, was a big figure skater. And she did that her whole life until she had to quit because of injury in high school. She was Olympic track. We spent a summer in Cape Cod because Nancy Kerrigan's coach agreed to coach Anna. And so that was before Tanya Harding. Kerrigan was just another person this coach was coaching, and Anna skated with Nancy Kerrigan, and I was so head over heels in love with Nancy Kerrigan. So she lives 2 blocks from me right now. Really? Tell her truth, yeah. I said hi. I will. Been trying to get her on the show. Yeah. And so I just love figure skating. I was dragged to it so much. I know a fair amount about it. And when presented with the opportunity to watch 1997 U.S. Figure Skating Championship, I would happily sit down and enjoy my Saturday night. That's for sure.
I don't think it's that weird, to be honest with you. It's Michelle Kwan.
Right.
There was a weird, also, my favorite thing is one of the commentators is named Dick Button. Dick Button, figure skating
that
commentator.
For a while. Week of antibiotics, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, you're fine. Like, how Mad TV does that sketch sound?
I know. Exactly.
Dick Button, ice skater. But there was this weird... So we had the sort of late 70s into the early 80s on ice fascination, which was like ice capades, not this competitive stuff, when everything was on ice. And then around the 94 Olympics, because of Nancy Kerrigan, that became really popular again. And there was a ton of primetime ice skating specials. There was like Nancy Kerrigan's Halloween on Ice and a bunch of other things. And this was sort of 97. It was starting to kind of die out again. But it was this weird little blip of like mainstream primetime America. And it was, you know what it was? It was the drag race of its time.
You may be right about that. You know,
Where dads watch it.
Nancy Tanya was viral pre-viral. That's as big as a story gets. So, of course, they're going to try to do something. And of course, Nancy Kerrigan's like, all right, I guess I'll get a little bit of a buck. I got screwed out of the gold medal by Oksana Bayul. Mm-hmm. I'm here to say that right now.
I agree. I concur.
Actually, it wasn't Oksana Bayul's fault. It was the International Olympic Committee who was like, we need a narrative shift. Let's just give the gold to someone else. Yeah. Give Nancy the silver, and we can be done with this story. Not Nancy's fault. God damn it. But yeah, I mean, that was the era of Tanya Harding, like celebrity boxing and shit.
Yes. Do you remember when Nancy Kerrigan hosted SNL?
No, I don't. It's probably a very wooden performance. I'm just going to say.
It is, but they've written some amazing sketches around her. And one of my favorite sketches I quote all the time is the premise is she's the key guest in a parade in a small town in Rhode Island. And so as she's going through the parade, just everybody there is apologizing to her for how shitty the town is. That's the whole premise.
That's great.
So it's amazing. Like she's in so she basically says nothing, but Kevin Nealon's like the mayor. And he goes, Nancy, I just want to thank you for coming to this town that's really just like a big toilet bowl full of puke.
Oh, I do remember that. I remember that line exactly. That's so funny. He's really like a big toilet bowl full of puke.
It's like perfect, Mayor. So not that weird of a pick because your other picks are like Xena, you got America's Most Wanted, Dr. Quinn, like that kind of stuff. So, you go with the special. Although I just saw Sabado Gigante is on for 3 hours.
Which is a great choice. That is a great choice.
Oh, that show. I missed that show.
Sabado Gigante is fantastic. But I'm sticking with figure skating. I really am.
I remember once I flipped over to Sabado Gigante and I've searched for this footage, but it was literally a little person spinning around on the floor doing like a curly shuffle kind of thing while churning butter. And Don Francisco, the guy who hosted it, who was like a Macarena looking guy, just yelling while girls in bikinis were dancing. No idea what was going on. They didn't address the guy with the butter. And it was just like another day on Sabado Gigante.
I like to think that they were pitching that in the writer's room, and they're like, but is it Gigante? Is it Gigante enough? Like,
sure, we know it's Sabado.
This is clearly Sabado material. But ask yourself, is this Gigante?
And he's like, that's the genius. He's very small.
Gigante.
Even the smallest among us.
They move the like idea over on the board from like
the big color with the color blocks.
Pequeño, medio, Gigante. It got up there.
Small man does big things on Saturday. Oh, that show needs a comeback. That's why everything's shitty now. We don't have Sabado Gigante anymore. I think we cracked it.
Well, I'm available. It might be a bit problematic, but I'm pretty fluent. I'll give it a whirl.
Not fluent at all in Spanish for me, but I'd happily participate.
Cool. I think this is a good luchador. I think it's a good pivot for both you and I.
Yes, we can shoot that anywhere.
But only on one day is the problem.
Exactly.
Because we do not shoot Sabado Gigante on Viernes. We're not going to lie to our audience.
That would be a huge controversy. Imagine if that was like, we've blown the lid off. Sabado Gigante's filmed on Thursdays.
The fucking host kills himself. It's just like all of it's done.
Yeah, it's Family Feud all over again. Also, I'm scrolling to Sunday, and my eye was caught by on the movie channel at 3:40 a.m. They're showing what they call a drama. They've given it no stars, and it's Marilyn Chambers' Bikini Bistro.
Yes. What channel was that on?
That's on the movie channel at 3:40 a.m.
Yeah. That stuff, that's like that USA Up All Night, you know, pubescent kids being creeps waiting for a boob till 4 in the morning. That's, boys your age and my age know that very well. And the internet kids are never going to understand.
No, they don't appreciate it.
The patience we have, and that's why we're better lovers.
It's true. It's true. We did look at that as a drama. That Bikini Bistro.
It may have not had any stars, but that doesn't mean I wasn't enraptured.
Marilyn Chambers, no longer with us, star of Behind the Green Door. And it was the original, not Gerber baby, but I think she was the Charmin lady in the 70s.
Coming full circle here.
Yeah, she was the mother on the box, and then they found out she was doing, and it was a big thing. Oh, wow, yeah, it's creepy. Sunday, what'd you do?
Sunday, I feel like I'm going to be pretty standard here. I don't think I'm a person that a lot of, saying anything that anyone would disagree with. The Simpsons, King of the Hill, X-Files. And X-Files, I will say, I'm a bit of a pretender. I enjoyed it. I wasn't as insane as most people were. And friends who I know who worship at the altar of it. I was mostly there for The Simpsons. That tracks with my Letterman. That's just my sort of Mount Rushmore of comedy writing. So I very much lived for The Simpsons, and I would enjoy King of the Hill, and I would watch X-Files more because my sister was into it. But that would be my Sunday night for sure.
So your older sister, did you have younger siblings as well, or was it just the two?
It was my younger sister who was into the X-Files, not my older sister. Yeah.
Okay. I watched X-Files too. 97 was about when I gave up. This is when they did the first movie.
Right.
And I went and saw it, and it was evident that they were making it up as they went along and had no plan. Like 17-year-old me was like, they're just trying. This is like me making up an oral report. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's like season 2 or maybe 3 of Lost where you're like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
No.
They never knew.
This is a joke that got out of hand. We didn't know it would go this far.
Exactly. We didn't think they'd make the thing.
They've so much admitted to since then. They were like, we thought it was going to be like a one-off because Survivor was big. We had no plan.
I know, and that's why people get so mad. It's like, well, it doesn't. It's like they were doing the best they could with a series order that was way bigger than they had ever anticipated.
And I think people don't appreciate the fact that, especially now where everyone's used to serialization, like, and if they've never written anything, that your task as a writer for this show is to write an ongoing story that don't resolve it, but also make a satisfying story every week. Like, that's impossible.
And very rarely, I mean, you can count on one hand the number of shows that have been allowed to pitch and achieve a vision, like Breaking Bad or something like that, where it's like, we know how it's going to end. We got 5 seasons, but it's like, no, you're lucky to get a season. You're lucky to get beyond a pilot. And if maybe you have a plan for 5 seasons, but not really, because it's such a long shot they're ever going to do that in the first place.
There was an interesting phenomenon in the 2000s of it going the other way, where there were shows that wanted to have a satisfying ending, but then got renewed. So Chuck was one of them. Doctor Who's kind of one of them, where it was like the big world-ending story, and it's all tied up, and then we have to do something else next year. Like there's nothing left, and so it was just so unsatisfying. So like the world ended last season, guys. Nothing matters anymore.
Well, there's the afterlife, dickhead.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, I guess we'll make the good place. Also, pretty badass ad for a Star Trek Voyager commemorative plate. Always want to point that out. Sure. Did you ever own a commemorative plate or order anything off TV like that?
I would order, like Columbia House, I ordered a lot.
Oh, sure. That's mail fraud. We all did that.
Yeah. There were also just like really, America's Funniest Home Videos tangential sports videos that were just like bloopers. Oh, yeah. And I love the shit out of those. So, I mean, that's the inner goon. I was like, get me the baseball one, get me the football one. I want to see CTE happening and laugh and laugh.
With sound effects.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the key.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the one Vincent Price, back when he would do anything in the mid-'80s, hosts a football's wildest bloopers video?
Good God.
I found it at a thrift store once. I was like, this is like how is this real? And he's like, look out for sticky fingers. And then it's like, boing. It's so bad.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's, again, why we're better people. Yeah, that's the night. And this is amazing because The Simpsons this night is not just any episode of The Simpsons.
It's the new episode.
It's a new episode, and it's my favorite episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, I didn't dig this deep. Which one was it?
John Waters.
Oh, sure.
This was mind-blowing because even at 97, John Waters was still, he's pretty much a fringe character.
Oh, it's obscure now.
Yeah. To have him playing himself, and he's the crux of the entire plot, and it's like this funny but progressive gay panic episode in 97.
Yeah, that was a groundbreaking episode. That got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Homer basically is like, you're all right, gay guy, and that's what the whole plot of the episode was.
But the first half, he's like, oh, he's trying to turn my kid gay.
Wow.
He's like, zap and all that stuff.
They really called everything. It's just the most prescient show.
That was when Homer said I forget what the first thing was. He was like, I like my beer cold and my homosexuals flaming.
Yeah, totally. Like he didn't know. He just thought he was the best guy ever. And Marge is like, Homer, you know what's going on here. Yeah, that's so great.
It's just like such a quintessential episode of the show. Like, I feel like that's The Simpsons at its best. Is that like if I was going to show someone one episode, I think it'd be that one.
I like The Simpsons. I mean, what I like about that is that they can deliver a really good social message well and sort of, make it palatable. But I like a Simpsons that's just utter nonsense. My favorite, and I had the opportunity to tell Conan O'Brien this because he wrote it, was Homer Goes to College. I just love, I just remember the tail end of Homer's college admissions essay because they start the scene with him finishing it, and then it just goes, it was the most I ever threw up, and it changed my life forever. And then he just puts a picture of him shoving a cake in his mouth and on his birthday with the birthday hat on, and that was his essay. And I just like shit like that. It astounds me.
I wonder how many colleges got that as an essay the year after that.
Right? If I'm on the admissions, I'm like, well, this kid's in. This is
and
gonna be...
you know what? You're teaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we move to Monday, because we're in Black History Month in February, they're really advertising this Showtime made for original movie, and I can't tell if this is offensive or not, but it says Showtime salutes Black History Month with a world premiere movie, Sidney Poitier as Mandela and Michael Caine as de Klerk.
De Klerk?
Yeah, not like the Bears. I think that was the name of a person.
De Klerk.
Yeah.
Got it. I was like, if it's Michael Caine as de Klerk, it is offensive.
It's a hip hop kind of thing. Mandela's his manager, and it's all there's like a rap battle.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say problematic.
Yeah, it's the Sun City rap battle at the end is amazing. I will also go on record saying that the stupid Mandela Effect everybody references, I never once in my life heard anyone thought Nelson Mandela died in jail until people started referring to the Mandela Effect.
I agree with you. And I know it as like the Bernstein Bears phenomena. Like that's the one that I know. I know when I talk about Nelson Mandela, it comes up. I'm like, you mean the guy that got out of jail and became the president of the country in the most redemptive, amazing turn ever? If he died in jail, you and I would not know who he is, to tell you the truth.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like, you've taken an interesting concept for an effect and misnamed it just you being stupid.
Right. I know, exactly.
Remember when I was really dumb? Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's like the Gandhi never starved effect. It's like,
right.
But everyone knows that he did. Like that's yeah, okay.
Fun fact: a lot of people mistakenly think it's like, no, I think that's just
it's
you.
Like a whole hunger campaign.
Yeah, it's kind of what he's known for. It's kind of his thing.
Not according to 90% of the public.
Yeah. Well, oh God, it's the history by Family Feud.
We're not far. We are not far.
No, that's very true. That's very true. There's also a huge thing on Sunday night, and this was a big deal. There's a made-for-TV movie starring Meryl Streep,
Wow.
And an actor like Meryl Streep would never, ever, especially at this point in her career, do a made-for-TV movie. But this is super generic, and I can probably guess what this is about. It says, it's in quotes, it's ellipses, "First, do no harm. A story of hope and courage."
Jesus.
She's a doctor, I guess? I don't know. That's what I would guess, that she's some kind of doctor.
I gotta say, I missed that one. I missed it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Let's see. Now I'm curious. They portray Missouri residents Lori and Dave Remuller, whose 4-year-old son Robbie is suddenly stricken with epileptic seizures. Visits to the doctor begin and a succession of drugs are tested. Robbie's condition deteriorates when the couple cover health. Oh, it's an anti-health insurance movie.
Oh, good. I was gonna say it was like Christian Science, like don't go to hospitals.
That's what I was going with. Yeah, the costs push them towards bankruptcy. And okay, all right, I can get on board with this. It's directed by Jim Abrams.
Really?
Yes.
This is really star-studded for some made-for-TV shit.
And Allison Janney's in it.
Damn, you couldn't get this today.
No, this would be like prestige Netflix premiere. Monday, what'd you do?
Monday is just very indicative of what a sitcom kid I was. I bounced all over the place. And I remember doing this, just flipping at commercials, going back. But Monday, I would get a dose of Cosby, Murphy Brown. And I'm not above a Chicago Hope, my man. I wasn't just loyal to ER. I would see what Mandy Patinkin was up to over on Chicago Hope, and it would be breaking my heart is what he was doing on a weekly basis.
Let's spread a new Patinkin effect where we go, people think he was on ER.
Yeah. I think if we're doing this, we have to sort of be subversive and say people think he was on Chicago Hope, but he was actually on ER.
He was actually on
a
ER.
while, for like 2 seasons.
Yeah, people mistakenly think.
The Patinkin effect.
I feel like that would be too successful.
I know, but I think
that social experiment would scare me. I
just don't know how we stand to profit, so I'm not that interested. But if we can find a financial angle to really get this out there, then I'm down.
Commemorative plates, that's the angle.
It's all in the plates.
It's a painting of Mandy Patinkin on ER on a plate.
It's actually a coin. It's like a wrongly
challenge
issued
coin?
dollar coin with Mandy Patinkin instead of Anthony Edwards.
It'll be limited to only 8 firing days. And the molds will be destroyed.
Yeah. I like this.
We got this. We're loaded. Also, I did forget to mention on Sunday night, there's a 2-part made-for-TV movie, part 1 starring Michael Biehn. And this is when disaster movies had a resurgence in the late 90s, so like Twister. But 97's the year we had, what's the, oh man, now I'm forgetting the movie with Ben Affleck and with the meteor.
Oh,
there's 2 of them.
Yeah, it's like an apocalypse movie. Is it the one with Aerosmith that sings?
Yes, don't want to miss a thing.
Why don't we know this one?
I don't know, but there were 2 in the theaters. That was one of them. There was another one. Armageddon, yes. And there was another one about, I forget the name of that too. But this was the TV version called Asteroid, starring Michael Biehn.
I remember Asteroid. That's right. Yeah, I think I stayed up and watched that.
Yeah, Annabella Sciorra. This is the Anthony Zerbe. Man, I feel like I need to go back and watch that because I'm just like, I miss the days of made-for-TV ripoffs of popular Hollywood films.
Well, maybe these actors just became big in our mind, or maybe these made-for-TV things were big. They must have been big money because these have clearly got budgets. I mean, it's like Asteroid. Yeah. These are A-list.
It's a 2-parter. You're making a 4-hour movie, like that's going to cost some money regardless.
4 hours, and every part of it very good. Nothing needed cutting.
Gold. Some of Michael Bihn's finest work, I'd say.
Sure.
For all those Beanheads. That Monkey special I mentioned is on Monday night at 8:00, so I'm definitely watching that.
Got it.
It's funny seeing how they pitch it. They say it's an all-new episode of the Monkees, which is true. What a weird thing.
I had to say Monday, I also see that I was going over to MTV for Singled Out and for Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
I loved Singled Out. Jenny McCarthy, of course. And Hardwick. Hardwick was
best thing Hardwick's done.
He was funny. He was funny on there. He was relatable. He's a slacker, skater-looking kid, even though that wasn't the case at all. But I really, when I saw Singled Out and then I saw Ren and Stimpy. I thought if I could sit down and watch that right now, I would be a pig in shit. I would love that as a 1-2 combo. That'd be phenomenal.
It was that chaos, that controlled chaos that as like a teenager just was so appealing to watch, because it was just like, there's no rules here. There's no one in charge.
Well, and also just the anxiety of Ren and Stimpy, just the animation, the way that's done. Like now, I think it stressed me out, but as a kid, it felt subversive. It felt
for sure. It was
wild.
a show you felt like you'd get in trouble for watching, which was always a good sign.
And ditto singled out because they're like talking about stuff my parents probably don't want me to see me watching. You know,
right?
Yeah,
Jenny McCarthy. That's what made her big. Also that night, Mr. Rhodes is on. This is Tom Rhodes' sitcom. Tom's been on the show. Tom's an awesome dude. And it's interesting to talk to Tom about this show because he has such a strange, complicated relationship with it. Because he said it was his it was the fund that let him move to Europe and have a career, but it was also just like a terrible experience where they basically threw him into Dead Poets Society as a sitcom and made every episode about his hair. And I bring that up because the ad for this night's TV, it's the Jeff Foxworthy show and Mr. Rhodes, and they call this night of TV Jocks versus Locks. Because on Jeff Foxworthy, it's Terry Bradshaw versus Jeff. And so that one, they both have like the eye makeup on, whatever they call that. And then Pauly Shore is guest starring on Mr. Rhodes. And they've photoshopped Tom's hair on Pauly Shore. That I would be upset about that if I was him.
I think I'd drop out and wander the planet for a while as well.
Yeah. I'd become the Phantom Stranger at that point. Pauly Shore, my God. Tuesday, what'd you do?
Tuesday's more of me being the sitcom baby. So, I mean, again, I'm jumping Roseanne, Mad About You, Fraiser, Home Improvement, Caroline in the City, Spin City. I'm checking in on every single one of those. And it's amazing to me that I can still even reference them, but I can see every set. I know most of the theme songs. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of remember my parents coming down and watching NYPD Blue and letting us watch it too. And it felt similar to Ren and Stimpy. It felt a little dangerous, felt a little subversive, but that was a phenomena. And I mean, that was a cultural big deal, NYPD Blue. Sipowicz,
I feel like parents
Caruso.
were more forgiving with the drama.
Right. I feel like it's easier for them to sort of explain it away. It's like, no, there's themes here. It's not just
quality TV.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a smorgasbord, but I more just went with what I'm intrigued by, what I'm versed in, and it's all of those.
The Spin City episode that night, which I love Spin City. I always put that in my top 3 90s sitcoms, like that hold up, are underrated. Mad About You, Spin City, News Radio. I'm like, to me, these shows hold up more than any other 90s sitcom, more than because their character, they feel somewhat timeless just because of and they're so well written and the casts are amazing. But Spin City, I forget, did a lot of kind of gimmick episodes with guest stars. And this episode, Patrick Ewing, Rosie O'Donnell, and David Letterman are in.
Holy shit. I didn't catch that. How'd they ever get Patrick Ewing?
He is. They had to back up a truck of money for Ewing.
I mean, I heard he was doing Asteroid. Can we get him?
Yeah, he had the lead in Asteroid, and he was you're gonna have to.
He was the Asteroid.
Yeah, he played the Asteroid. And once again, when Ewing drops out, they get Michael Biehn again. I mean, I can't tell you how many films.
And it's true for the Knicks as well. When Ewing went down, Bihn's out there.
Biehn came out. He had the glasses and the shorts, and
elbow pads.
Was known for his dunking. Yeah,
all of it.
But Spin City was interesting too because it was overtly New York as a sitcom,
right?
And they would do stuff in New York, like out in New York, and with people in New York, and that was weird because like Friends was on and clearly wasn't New York. Seinfeld clearly wasn't New York. But Spin City was like, no, we're actually here.
Right, like here's Marion Barry on set for an episode. Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
And just as, that's the dominance of New York, a kid in Denver's like, I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Plus Michael J. Fox, so good.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a Sipowicz, NYPD Blue, Sipowicz focused. He's tortured by his past in an unforgettable new blue.
Yeah, that's every episode. I remember another Simpsons quote because I only speak in Simpsons quotes, but it was some episode. Homer came down in a short sleeve shirt, and a tie to go to church. And Marge is like, Homer, you got to go change that. You can't wear short sleeves. And he goes, but Sipowicz wears short sleeves. And she goes, if Sipowicz jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? And he just goes upstairs, like, defeated. And he goes, I wish I was Sipowicz. As he's
That's interestingly, that show, for being as high profile and critical and rating success that it was, I don't think it's streaming. No one ever mentions it or watches it. Like,
you're right.
It's just gone.
I feel like they showed Dennis Franz's dick on that show. Didn't they do
His
like
butt.
his butt? That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes with him.
Well, with old Dick Button, it kind of looks the same.
I mean, yeah, a Dick Button, you're like, wait,
The man
what?
whose butt
Turn
was
around.
his dick and his dick was his butt. Dick Button.
We just read a 1986 SNL sketch for the 1110 spot. It's like Benjamin Button. Yeah, so that's a solid night. Wednesday, what are you doing?
More traditional teen, but I got news radio in there just like you. More just because I'm a Rogan champion and I've been with him from the jump. But very much night dominated by Beverly Hills 90210 and Party of Five. That is me trying to relate to my other teens and not just be a weird, comedy sitcom guy. Like, Beverly Hills, I know way more than Party of Five, but I watched both for sure.
So you're trying to be a more well-rounded human. With
I'm
those
trying
choices.
to get girls at this point.
Yeah.
And if you can be pretty up on what happened on 90210,
Oh yeah,
Thursday homeroom, that's a good way to chat with girls at your high school.
right there with you. Speaking of the Flash, when that first started in 1990, that started the same night as 90210, and I was on board with the Flash, and everyone else was on board with 90210, and I got so far behind by the time the Flash was canceled, I had nothing to talk to anyone about on Thursdays.
And this is an era you can't just catch up. You can't go binge this. Maybe during the summer you can gain some ground and rerun time, but not really. Not enough to be savvy.
This is the 200th episode of 90210.
Oh, wow.
This is discover the shocking secret Valerie has never revealed until now.
You know what I love about 90210? That dad, and you probably know this because you know everything, was about the same age as most of the actors. And he just looked like a bald Midwestern dad. So, like, what a humble man who's like, yeah, fine. Yeah. I'm a working Hollywood actor. You guys be the heartthrobs. I'm your fucking dad. Who cares?
I'm 2 years older than you. Fine.
Yeah. You guys mind if I come to the Viper room with you? Nah, I think we're not going to go together.
This one, Michelle Phillips is in it. I forgot she played Valerie's mother, so she played Kelly Kapowski's mom on that show. Although she wasn't playing Kelly Kapowski. Yeah, I know that she's a person. Yeah, and then the Fox ad that night, was it Matthew Fox? Was that the guy on Party of Five?
It 100% was, yeah.
So I don't know if this tagline is supposed to be referencing him, but it's 90210 on one side and then Party of Five on the other, and across the top it says "Nonstop Fox."
I mean, I think it is, right? What else are they going for? Yeah, these shows
but
are
it's
both
Fox TV, but also I don't know.
Well, both shows are on Fox, right?
Sure.
So it'd be pretty wild to just say "Nonstop Fox" if you're not even going for any pun whatsoever. Like,
because a guy named Fox is in one of the other shows. Maybe they were just waiting to have a guy named Fox in a show so they could do that ad.
What's the Spin City Network doing? That's the only way we're going to get these answers. That's the only way.
That's true. Party of Five that night, big shock. It's about Bailey's drinking. Like every episode of Party of Five.
I like NYPD Blue and Party of Five. They hit upon a formula and they're like, let's not fuck with this.
Yeah. I loved Jennifer Love Hewitt, so I would watch it for that every time. And then I did a show with Jamie Kennedy and she was selling merch for him and I felt so bad for her.
She was?
Yes, when she was dating him.
Oh my God, and he made her sell merch?
I feel like she was probably like, oh, I want to come to the show. That'll be fun. I'll do the merch. That's fun.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so. I hope so,
but I was just like, no.
I've had shows where my wife came with me and she's like, I'll sell your shit. And I was like, all right, because she just wanted something to do. But my wife's not a recognizable television star.
Your wife's not more famous and likable than you.
Exactly. And probably funnier.
Yeah. Oh, also as well. Yeah. Jamie Kennedy's one of those guys who, I don't know how well known this is, but he's one of those comics that does that move every time he has a weekend somewhere. He fires the opener after the first night.
Really?
Regardless of what, that's like his move.
Ken, did this
Pauly
just
Shore
happen
does
to
it
you,
too.
and now you're saying it's his
It's
move?
just me. It's
you
called the
get
Ken
fired by-
Reed effect.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he does it apparently if he's doing a weekend somewhere, that's like his thing.
Just as like a power trip.
I guess, yeah. Weird.
Very
like,
weird.
why?
Very weird.
Very strange. Thursday, what'd you do? I'm guessing the must-see TV given the sitcom.
You know what I'm doing on Thursday. Friends and Seinfeld for sure. I'm fluent in both shows. But I also I watched Martin. I watched Living Single in a 90s kind of world. I'm glad I got my girls. And
I love that show.
I love that show. I definitely, and I wish there was more of it now, specifically black sitcom that was for a black audience that white kids like me could watch and maybe learn a little bit about this community. And I just feel like I loved it. I fucking loved it. I loved Martin. Yeah. I loved Living Single. I thought it was hilarious. And it was a world I did not ever see except
absolutely
on my TV
100%.
Right
Same here. Like that was, and I've talked to friends now who are black, and it's we sort of feel how they felt, where everything else was communities didn't represent them on TV, but they had to enjoy it anyway. So like, they're watching Friends or whatever. That's not. So it's like it's weird to have that perspective of, because Living Single, I always say, is the good Friends. It came out a year before. It really is like if Friends wasn't just like rich white people. Like it was just like more realistic and just funny, and had an amazing cast and was good like every season. Yeah.
Also in that genre of just black sitcoms, A Different World. I always loved A Different World with Kadeem Hardison.
Until it got silly. It got silly in the later seasons.
I don't remember the journey, but I remember watching it, and it was very Tribe Called Quest early.
Oh yeah.
African
cross colors.
Yeah, totally. It was going
Us Three.
for it.
Sinbad was awesome on it. Jasmine Guy's so good on those early seasons. I think the problem with that show is I have a theory that any sitcom that goes more than 5 seasons gets weird, which can be good or bad. But one of the ways they get weird is they get really juvenile and dumb, like in a surreal way, but not a good way. And that's one of those shows where Cree Summers came in, and who's great. People know her for voiceover stuff now. She was Penny on Inspector Gadget and a bunch of other stuff. But she came in as like the dumb character, but they wrote her so dumb, like she could not function as a human. Like
too dumb.
Where you're just like, you're like, this isn't even funny. Like, I just feel sad now. like this is too far, guys. And a lot of shows would do that.
Well, the dumb
guess
character
it's
has
easier
to
to
be
joke.
done well. It's like we're talking about Homer Simpson because there's a heart there. There's it's not just a 2D dumb person. It's my show. Those who can, I think we had a very dumb character, Coach Fairbell. But it's like it was our friend who we'd been doing sketches with for years. He brought more than just like, and I'm the dumb fuck to it. You've got to give them something more than that, like a good heart or an aspiration or something,
or make them feel like they might be dumb, but in their world they're functional. Like they think they got a handle of everything. You know, like because otherwise you're just like, this poor guy. He doesn't know how to wear pants. Like,
right? Can this guy get money out of the ATM? Like, how is he feeding himself?
Yeah, that is for some reason lost on those shows. That's a damn good night. The single guy that night, which you did not mention, I do want to say has a cameo appearance.
Yeah,
by Dan Cortez.
No shit. Well, I might have tuned in for that. Remember when Dan Cortez did Seinfeld? Speaking of, he was and George was like friends with him and really wanted to impress him. I wonder if he was ever on Living Single and then Seinfeld back to back, and Cortez was like, I'm going to be on the top of the mountain forever.
Welcome to Cortez country, everybody. I'm the Conqueror Cortez.
Oh, God. All hail the Conqueror Cortez. He just took Thursday night. Next stop, Latin America.
I remember those Burger King ads he did because they were the most 90s shaky cam animation flying at you, like this kind of
low
thing,
angle,
fisheye lens. But that's when Burger King, their tagline at that time was, I love this place. It was like the most ridiculous thing.
Dan Cortez and Daisy Fuentes, if they didn't exist, we would have to invent them. They were so emblematic of that time. It's pretty wild.
Do you know what she's doing now?
Congress? She's in the Senate?
No, she's married to Richard Marx, right?
Okay.
And they mostly travel around and rescue dogs from kill shelters. That's like most of the time. But maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they were on a plane and a guy went nuts, like with a knife, and Daisy Fuentes and Richard Marx tackled him, like beat the shit out of him and tied him up until the police could get him when they landed.
Man, we were all right about her all along. She ruled and continues to rule.
Yep.
Meanwhile, here's the thing you didn't tell people. That man, Dan Cortez.
Dan Cortez. It was Dan Cortez. He had a burger with him that was at least 10 years old. He was waving it around.
The fall from the mountain, very, very chaotic for Dan Cortez.
Yep. Sometimes it's not just hats that move backwards when you're Dan Cortez. It's your whole life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And now you just got the ghost author job of the Cortez bio.
Cortez bio, which I guess it would be called I Love This Place. But written in like some capitals and big word, it would just be a variety of fonts.
I think it's hard Cortez, like hardcore. Tez.
Oh yeah, that would
hard
be
Cortez.
good.
Or parkour.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. We'll workshop some things. I mean, it's going to be multiple volumes, so we probably want to have a few titles.
Bottom line is you've got a fat check coming your way, and congrats.
Oh yeah. A couple of them. Friday night, final night of the week. What are you going with?
You know, I'm boring your listeners with all my sitcom talk, so I'm like Dave's World. Everybody loves Raymond. I would have watched all of those. There was a show that I wanted to ask you about on Comedy Central entitled Comic Justice, and I don't know what the fuck that is, because I'm in comedy. There's no justice. No. What is Comic Justice?
So this was when Judge Judy was such a huge hit. They started getting a ton of judge shows. They brought back People's Court. We had Judge Mills Lane with his Let's Get It On, Judge Joe Brown.
Sure.
Some of them are still on today. So Comedy Central decided they were going to jump on this wagon and do the show, but the premise was, imagine Judge Judy People's Court, but you had an attorney who was a comedian.
Great. Perfect.
So they would argue the cases. I forget who hosted it, like who the judge was. I think it was someone, the same person. I want to say it was like Alan King or someone like that. But it was like revolving sort of comics debating on behalf of their
Okay. So it's a debate
client.
Show framed through like the judge show phenomena.
Right. Which isn't a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, especially like was it real people bringing their cases?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Was it legally binding?
No, so the way those shows work is all of those judge shows are technically categorized as a game show.
Okay.
And so what they do is you sign a thing, you have to have a real case in court, but you sign a thing that drops that case and says you're going to go, basically you treat the show like an arbitration.
Yeah,
so
right.
You'll say whatever they say is bound. But you get an appearance fee. You get $5,000 to appear on those shows. And the judgments come out of your appearance fee. So if the case is found not in your favor for $5,000, you get nothing, and that person gets 10.
But you're done with the problem. You don't have to deal with this in a real court anymore.
Right, exactly. So that which is a fascinating idea, like the fact that someone came up with that for People's Court, which was the first one, and we can do it as a game show, but people won't necessarily know, is pretty genius.
And the fact that legally it was allowed to happen might have been one of those first few cracks we were starting to see in the old democracy.
Oh yeah. There's a failed pilot from around this time that aired a couple times, but it was Bob Zamuda as Tony Clifton. Have you heard about this?
No.
Doing one of these Judge Judy shows, and it was called Stormy Justice. And so it was real people, but they'd go in and Clifton's the judge, right? And he would just be insane. And one of the things he would do was constantly flip between whose side he's on. So you would never know, like he'd start making an argument. So clearly this guy's wrong. And I remember it was some guy was suing over dance lessons or something. And the guy was clearly like some weird hillbilly hick. And so the whole time you're like, this guy's going to win the case. Like it's open and shut. And so he's yelling at the guy who's being sued. And he's like, I mean, sir, no disrespect. I mean, look at this guy. The man's a loon. He's clearly a loon. And you do, and then he finds in favor the other guy. It was just like, yeah, it was mean spirited but funny.
That's amazing. I've never even heard of that. That's great.
That might be on YouTube as well. Stormy Justice. It's worth looking up because it's pretty funny. Yeah, Millennium's on, which I watched every week. I really love Millennium. It was sort of X-Files adjacent, but was much darker. It was only 2 seasons. Lance Hendrickson, very, very good weird show. Yeah, but then you got to watch it. I never watched Sliders. They're really pushing this first of a dramatic 2-parter, the most shocking episode of the year of Sliders. So that's a low bar.
Dave's World was also a show that I watched because I love Dave Barry. It's like cheesier than all the cool comedy we've been talking about, but it was very formative for me reading it and being like, oh, you can write funny in a column like this. I just thought it made newspaper and satirical writing attractive to me. Because
you did that, you started doing that for the weekly
I
paper.
did, and that's like a big path for my humor. Not that anybody cares, but it was just like in high school I wrote a column. In college I copied The Onion, wrote a satire paper, wrote for a newspaper in Denver, got a column. So reading Dave Barry's stuff was very mind-blowing to me. I remember even the device of him being like, and I walk into a store and it'd be like, me, I say this, clerk says that, me, and I was like, oh, you can just break the rules of writing and have dialogue in the middle of your column and shit. It was all really simple looking back, but it was so helpful to read Dave Barry. So I followed him to Dave's World and watched that show as well.
I think much like the Impractical Jokers thing, I think Dave Barry doesn't get enough credit for setting a tone and sort of a set of rules for like most internet writing now.
I think you're right. It was kind of pithy. It was very like you can toss out grammar rules completely in favor of how people actually talk.
Yep, and with weird narrative switches and the narrator's different. And no one, I don't know if they know that's what it's from, but I think that's kind of where it comes from.
I think you're right. And my mom would buy me books of his columns and I would just read them up. Like I loved them. In the sitcom,
you had an amazing cast. Like Shadoe Stevens, so funny on that show and just amazing. Meshock Taylor, Harry Anderson. Like it was a damn good show. And weirdly, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, the only successful sitcom for a Night Court actor post Night Court, even though they all got sitcoms.
You're right about that.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Which reminded me, in this issue, there's Rhea Perlman's show, Pearl, and they have Ted Danson doing a guest spot, which is like, if you're a Cheers cast member and another cast member does the guest spot, your show's canceled the next week.
Yeah, it's like
that's always the last spot.
Jumping the stool on the old bar.
They're like, we got one trick left, guys. Let's
Woody
shock him one more time.
Get him off the set of White Men Can't Jump.
Oh, put my money where my mouth is. So that is the week. But as you know, TV Guide is not just informative. It has opinions and it cheers and it jeers. So to wrap up here, I'd like to read you the cheers and jeers of this week, February 20th, 2017, and see if you agree or disagree. Now, I always love these because they're the one part of TV Guide that no one had to sign their name to. So they're completely unattributed and therefore super bitchy. So this is a split week. So we have 2 cheers, 2 jeers. We start with a cheers. Cheers to coming back strong, Ellen. Ellen, slated to be taken off air for a time by ABC beginning next month, got a reprieve, along with a temporary new time slot. We're glad the sitcom isn't being mothballed because Ellen has been particularly funny and frisky of late. The episodes in which Ellen in a wine tasting, and in which she attended a rock and roll fantasy camp featuring both sharp writing and lots of good opportunities for Ellen DeGeneres to cavort with slapstick abandon. Sure, we like the jam session with Aaron Neville, Bonnie Raitt, and the camp's rocker-in-residence David Crosby, but even better, how often do you get to hear jokes about Seals and Croft?
Wow.
This is pre-coming out, I imagine?
Lot to unpack. Happy for the Aaron Neville win.
Yep.
Always happy for the Neville family generally to get wins like that. Knowing what we now know about Ellen and how she was a monster, I disagree with the cheers. Yeah. Cheers.
I concur with that. I do like that we had Aaron Neville's classic superhero uniform of the denim sleeveless shirt and the too tight jeans.
Yeah.
And it's that man wore that every day.
Cross earrings.
Yeah.
And when we think Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, I think everyone thinks Aaron Neville first.
Then Bonnie Raitt was number 2.
Bonnie Raitt.
And of course, David Crosby, who was on the John Larroquette show. He was his AA sponsor. He was a reoccurring character.
I'll tell you what, it wasn't as popular as Dave's World, that John Larroquette show.
No, certainly wasn't. Do you think people tuned into Dave's World thinking it was about Letterman and then were like really pissed off?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But there wasn't the
Class
internet as
Action
much, so we don't really know.
Yeah. That's the Dave effect. A lot of people think Dave's World was about Dave Barry, but it's actually David Letterman.
I only got into Foo Fighters because I thought it was Letterman, and it turns out it was Grohl.
Yeah. Jeers to plot abuse. The 1996-97 TV season has a long way to go, and we've already seen more hostage situations than an FBI crisis negotiation instructor at Quantico. An informal tally of the primetime series that have recently employed this storyline includes NBC's Homicide Life on the Street in a 2-parter, ABC's Roseanne, CBS's Chicago Hope, Inc., and Maloney on 2 separate occasions, no less. Now, even ER gets in the felonious act, with Nurse Hathaway held at gunpoint during a botched convenience store robbery last week. Enough is enough, all right? All you network writers, throw down your scripts and come out of your bungalows with your hands up.
Listen, enough is enough when it comes to informal tallies. What the fuck else are you doing, TV Guide, besides formal tallies? You get a guy who counts and you have the exact number. You're just saying, we feel like we've seen a lot. I don't come to you for dubious proclamations. I come for certainty. And the informal tallies gets a jeer from me for this.
I agree. We need a source of truth.
I'm worked up.
I like imagining when this guy decided to start informally tallying them. Like, how many did he see when he was like, wait a minute here?
I think he pounded his desk on Wednesday. If only I'd been counting.
Look, I love Maloney, whatever the hell that is, but they've had 2 hostage episodes in a month.
Or you're a drunk TV Guide writer and that was a rerun.
Yeah. You just have it. You taped a night of TV and you keep watching it every night and you don't know.
It's like nepotism. He's like TV Guide's just drunk nephew.
Jimmy TV Guide.
Jimmy TV.
Yeah. He's like, they keep airing the same damn episodes. Cheers to getting back on track. We were recently delighted to see a completely normal workaday episode of ABC's Roseanne. No extraneous, distracting celebrity cameos, no lurid, ludicrous fantasy sequences, no half-baked spoofs of popular films or TV shows, no abrasive, badly acted family discord. In fact, the show hardly ever strayed from Mrs. Connor's littered bedside, where she lay despairing over her marital breakup, listlessly thumbing through supermarket tabloids, devouring a mountain of snack foods, and barking at whoever came to the door to try to talk her out of her funk. It was the plainest episode of the season so far, and unquestionably the best. It's ironic that it took a near nervous breakdown by Roseanne for Roseanne to finally regain its sanity.
Good Lord. That's so like, listen, I'm not going to go defending Roseanne, but it's so, the person, not the show. The show's great.
Yeah.
It's so catty. It's like it took a nervous breakdown for her to get back to the TV formula we tepidly enjoy. Like,
I don't want to see drama. What's wrong with you?
Also, one of the things they listed as like getting away from the formula was something about like, they say badly acted. I would disagree. Family drama stuff.
Yes,
that's what the show is. It's just
family
like,
discord is
family
Roseanne.
Discord is Roseanne, done in a really like heightened kind of sharp level that they might not have liked. But like family discord is the show, so that's not a departure or gimmick. That's what the show is. This
person doesn't like the show. Like,
right.
They might think they do, but by this paragraph, they do not enjoy the show Roseanne. And I know the episode they're talking about, this is a depressing, mediocre episode. Like,
they just like seeing Roseanne sad. That makes them happy.
They're like, eat that snack, Rosie. Yeah. And it is the last season. It's like, you know, when Dan had a heart attack but come on. And finally, jeers to monkey business. Remember that celebrated commercial for HBO that showed chimps in the wild delivering well-known dialogue from movies like Rocky and Network? No, I didn't remember this. Wow. While renowned primatologist Jane Goodall puzzled over the animal's strange behavior, turns out HBO was pulling the fur over our ears. Although that was Dr. Goodall, it wasn't her voice we heard. We here at TV Guide feel especially burned by this deception. When we chose this spot as one of the year's best commercials last month, we called HBO and specifically asked if that was Goodall, and we were assured that it was, but they didn't tell us the whole story. Well, you can't fool us twice. A special Cheers and Jeers investigation has revealed that the chimps weren't uttering their lines either. It was a dubbed track.
What the fuck? Can you imagine HBO being like, hold on, guys, it's TV fucking Guide. They want to know what's good on. What do I tell them? Is that drunk Jimmy TV? Is it okay? Yeah,
tell them I'm your supervisor. Put me on.
Yeah, the apes were saying the dialogue. Tell them the apes were saying the dialogue.
Yeah, so we're going to check the tape. Yeah, I mean, this is a ridiculous complaint, but also is weirdly prescient with the AI stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is another reason why I refuse to admit we're descended from chimps. Like, I just don't, like,
yeah,
because we would never do something so duplicitous.
No, of course not. Of course not. Yeah, evolution's a lie. We need to get naked kids on TV selling toilet paper again.
Yep.
Sabado Gigante has to come back, and then all of our problems will be solved.
I think those are the big talking points and takeaways from today.
That's the Trinity. That's what'll do it. Well, Adam, it's so nice to talk to you. It's been nice catching up. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, Ken, thank you. This was a fun trip down memory lane, man. I really enjoyed all of it.
That's Adam. Watch Wallpaper, the special, not actual Wallpaper. You're welcome to watch actual Wallpaper, but if that's what you want to do, that's fine. And it's Adam Cayton, C-A-Y, not Clayton. He's not the bass player for U2, hyphen Holland. I would have the bass player from U2 on. I'm not a huge U2 fan, but if you wanted to be on the show, Adam, shoot me an email at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com. Next week we have a brand new episode, so I hope you'll be here for it. It's a brand new episode. See you then for TV Guidance Counselor.
I feel like they showed Dennis Franz's dick on that show. Didn't they do
his
like
butt?
His butt, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes with him.
Well, with old Dick Button, it kind of looks the same.